Hi everybody. In the spirit of Pete, my southern buddy, I'm going to give a recipe today. And if you like split pea soup, which I've made from scratch many times, but if you want to go the easy route, you can try this recipe, and I call it Dave's Pea'n Stuffed Soup. Maybe I ought to change the name of that. Anyway, this is what I do. I take 1 bag of frozen hash browns, 2 bags of frozen peas and carrots. Oh, look at that. Somebody peed on the counter. 1 bag of frozen green beans, 1 bag of frozen broccoli, and one thing that I have in the freezer that I only use a half a bag for, and that is pearl onions. And we take the soup pot, we dump that all in the order that I gave you, and we're going to put, ooh, fire, that's what separates us from the animals. We've harnessed fire. And we put it in our soup pot. Ooh, we got some good steam going there, and you can see the onions there on top. Everything's cooking down. So this has been on here for a little while. We're going to give it, oh, there you can see the peas and carrots, the green beans. There's the potatoes working around. We're going to give this a stir every once in a while and let it cook down a little bit more. And I don't know if I mentioned, when you put all your vegetables in there, it looks like it's not even going to fit. It's probably this high on the stock pot. And you're going to go about that high with the water, because the vegetables have a lot of moisture in them themselves, and you can always add water, but it's hard to cook it all off. So it looks like we're doing really good there. And we'll catch up with some more tricks later. Okay, now after boiling here for a while, it's probably been about 30 minutes or so, things are starting to get pretty soft. Matter of fact, there's a little bit of the hash browns that are probably just a little bit stuck to the bottom. They'll come loose as they sit here. And things are getting soft there. You can even see the colors change from the potatoes working in through this. And we're just going to, it's extremely hot. I got some on my finger a minute ago. And we're just going to let it sit there and with its own heat for a while. Cover it up. We're going to let it sit there for a while. Okay, now it sat covered with only the heat of its own self there for a while. And for about 25 minutes or so. And what I did was I checked to see how thick it was. I did add about maybe 2 more cups of water because it was pretty thick. And I tested the doneness by looking at green beans. If the green beans are soft, everything else is pretty soft. They're about the last things to get soft. And I did put salt and pepper in there. As you can see, I'm like Pete. I like a lot of black pepper, but this is also a big pot of soup. We may season it more. Now, I don't have an immersion blender. And but what I'm going to do is, now I wouldn't do this if I was you, but I'm doing it because it's me. If I was you, I'd go buy an immersion blender. But this is me, so I'm going to use this mixer. We're going to stick her right in here. And this takes a little while. It might be a little bit messy, but you're down below the level, and you can see what I'm doing. There goes some onions. We're just getting a good mix on here. We're taking out the chunks, because you know how split pea soup is not chunky. Now you can see how it's working. Now, an immersion blender would probably be a lot faster. One of these days I'll break down and buy one. But you've seen enough of this to get the idea. So after running the mixer, this is about how it looks. Looks more creamy than chunky. You can still there's still some whole vegetables in there, and they'll cook down a little bit more as the heat is applied. And I added a couple more cups of water just to get the consistency more where I like it. I might want to add another cup or so later on. But you know, a good potato or a good pea soup is also kind of creamy, and we don't cook with milk. We drink very little milk. We drink mostly soy milk when we have it. Regular milk would sour on us by the time we got around to it. So we keep powdered milk in the cupboard. That's even what I make my biscuits and gravy with. And if you think I'm a faker or whatever, you'll have to try my biscuits and gravy sometime because they're really good. But here goes the powdered milk, and you can kind of tell when it's got a few lumps in there. They'll dissolve as the heat's applied. As it gets going here, you can see the color's changed. I'm going to take my tasting spoon here. I got a clean tasting spoon. We're going to give it a taste. That's pretty good. I think I'm going to add a little bit more milk. Like I say, there's a powdered milk, and we're doing scientific stuff here. And there's one more thing that we're going to add to this after we get some heat on it. Now this has very little fat in it because we're using powdered milk, which is low fat or no fat. The only fat in the vegetables here was in the pre-cut hash browns. There's some oil on those things that come in the package. I don't actually even know why they do that, because you need probably to keep them from sticking in the bag. But that's the only fat in this so far, so I don't feel too bad about this. But what we're going to do is we're going to add about 5 slices of Swiss cheese to the top of this and let it melt in. And we'll let this have a go. Cover it up for a while longer. Okay, now we've had the Swiss cheese in here on top of this hot soup. We're just going to stir it right in. It's melted in. It kind of gives it that tang. I suppose you could use buttermilk. You don't want to forget the Swiss cheese. It's a very important part. And when it's hot, it just melts right in there. You can see that nice pale green color that powdered milk gives it. And see, you've not had to drain any liquid off of here or cook anything down. You've added more liquid to it to make it. And really the only fat is in there is a little bit that's in with the hash browns and the little bit that's in with the Swiss cheese. It's all stirred in there. We'll give her a taste again. That's pretty much on. One thing I did when no one was looking, and this is a secret of mine, is I put in about 2 tablespoons of sugar. Don't tell anyone that I do that. Otherwise, this soup is really healthy, but you'll find that you really like that extra sweetness.